It wasn't by having a passion or having it all figured out. I changed my major a few times before landing on engineering. And you're not behind if you don't know exactly what you want to do yet. No one really cares how fancy your resume is or is expecting you to be perfect. First and foremost, kind of give a shit. You don't need to know it's your passion, but it should interest you in some way. Getting an engineering degree takes a lot of time and effort. Being interested in what you're learning is a huge advantage in actually sticking with it and getting that degree. Being interested in it also helps learn the material and actually retaining the material for exams and for your future work that you'll be doing. Makes it that much easier. Plus, you'll genuinely be more happy and satisfied because you actually find the material interesting. When you're in class, you may not always want to be there, but at least there is some sense of like, yeah, I do find this interesting. I do want to learn about this. You don't have to love it right away, and it doesn't have to be this like crazy passion of yours, but just having that initial interest is really just going to carry you forward. And as you learn more about the field and get better at understanding the material and applying the material and building projects and all this stuff, you'll naturally just attract the right people in your life and the right opportunities in your life because you're meant to be there. When I finally settled on my major, I had no experience in 3D modeling or building much of anything or clubs, but I did make my own little machines out of Legos when I was a kid, one of which is still on YouTube to this day. And I remember being obsessed with space and space technology as a kid. So when I became an adult, I kind of tapped into those interests and let it carry me forward into what I might be interested in pursuing for a career. Plus, I was always pretty good at math and physics naturally, and so that was just another reason for me to decide on engineering as a career path. If you can relate to those things in regards to engineering, I guarantee you that though the interest in the field and the natural ability will definitely carry you a long way, definitely through school. Even if you're not naturally good at math or physics, it just takes practice like anything else. You can push yourself to learn it. If you just simply enjoy building things or learning about how machines work, then that's honestly enough to take you forward. On the topic of extracurriculars, I would say extracurricular activities are usually pretty important, especially before you have any big project experience and club experience, because they're a great way of getting more experience in the field and showing that you learned something. When you're choosing an extracurricular to do, choose one that excites you in some way and doesn't feel like an obligation or something that you like have to do. I personally didn't join most clubs or extracurriculars because, well, I was working a lot and focused on my grades the first 2 years. Most opportunities that I saw weren't that exciting or interesting. When I found out they were making popsicle stick houses and just having pizza parties every week, even if it like looked like good on my resume, like hypothetically, like it wasn't something that I was interested in, so I didn't go. When I did find one though, NASA's NCAS program, which I highly recommend, I dove headfirst with everything I had. I became a project manager for one of the projects. I took work off. I emailed my professors and told them I wasn't going to be able to make it that week and that I would make up the work later, and they all understood because I wanted to make the most of the experience while I was, had the great opportunity to actually be a part of the experience. And it was something, like I said earlier, connected to my childhood love of space and space technology, and I knew I just wasn't going to have this experience again, and I wanted to make the most out of it. I genuinely enjoyed what we worked on too as a team. We got to hypothetically establish a habitat on the moon, which is part of the Artemis program, which is what they want to do in the future. And we got to shadow some real life engineers at NASA Ames Research Center and ask them questions about their work and ask them questions related to our project. Honestly, a lot of people ask me about my experience in this program, and I have a lot to say about it, because I honestly loved it so much and had such a good time, and it was very rewarding. So when you're looking for extracurricular activities, find something that genuinely interests you and you'll get a lot out of it. And sure, you'll be able to put it on your resume and it'll look good on a resume, but it's something that you can actually talk about with future employers or recruiters because you genuinely enjoyed it, and they'll be able to see how much you actually learned from it because you're able to talk about it so extensively because you actually wanted to be there. This goes for more general things too, like just be more mindful about what you spend your time and energy on. Focus on things that excite you and make you interested to actually participate in them. And don't be afraid to take your time. I know it's easy to go on Instagram and see everyone's highlight reel, go on LinkedIn and see how excited everyone is to announce about their new internship or whatever new job they have, which is great. I'm happy for everyone that gets great opportunities, but sometimes it can feel like, I don't have it all figured out, or I'm not going fast enough, or people are ahead of me. That's all just like mental stuff that isn't real. Like, you're not behind. You can take your time to really flesh out the life that you want and not get burnt out. Actually be present when you're learning the material and involved with extracurricular activities and clubs and stuff. Sometimes waiting and maturing a little bit, or just taking your time, is hugely beneficial, because when you're more mature or less burnt out, you have better habits, you're in a better mental space, and you're overall just better at operating as a person. Take your time. There's really no rush. Now, resumes are very important. I try to make a habit of modifying or adding to my resume every few weeks or so, just to keep it up to date, and maybe rewording things here and there to make it more clear. It doesn't have to be perfect. Personally, it's something that I'm constantly just iterating on. You can have multiple versions of it if you want. I have like a master resume, which has all my experiences on it. And then when you're applying to something, you can kind of tailor it to the job application itself and cut out everything else that isn't necessarily applicable. I don't think it needs to be some like glorious piece of art either, especially in engineering. They don't care what font you used or what colors you have. They just want to see what your experience is and how it tells the story of you as a person and of you as an engineer. Honestly, for our class, like a few years ago, we had to create a resume, and I've just been using that ever since. Like, I polished it up a little bit. I have a link to it in the description if you want to download it for free. It's just a Google Doc, and that you can edit and put your own information in yourself. Just use your own voice and try to use engaging language that actually tells a story about your experiences and doesn't overhype them too much, doesn't overstate your accomplishments, but also doesn't understate it either. You want to just find that middle ground where you are describing your experience and what value it brought to the organization or whatever experience it was, and what value it brought to you in terms of the learning experience. As an engineering student applying to internships, no one's expecting you to be perfect or be building rocket ships in your garage. They just want to see that you're engaged, that you're willing to learn, that you are willing to make mistakes and learn from them. They're not expecting a perfect writer either. They just want to make sure that your experiences are accurate and actually portray the experiences you've had. It's a good idea to have people look over your resume. I've cold emailed engineers on LinkedIn and actually had some pretty cool experiences from it. I got to meet with one guy who was super nice and gave me some great advice. It was like a short phone call. We were on the phone for like 10 minutes and we went over my resume, and he gave me some tips, and I changed my resume on the fly, like in Word, while he was giving me the advice. But just stuff like that, like just putting yourself out there and asking for feedback in a way that's just genuinely open to improving yourself and improving your resume. People really want to help if you're easy to help, if that makes sense. Also, I would take the CAD class as soon as you can. I took SolidWorks a little bit later than what was normal for my degree, path or whatever. Somehow I got the internship I'm at now without CAD experience. My manager said it wasn't a deal breaker because I could learn it pretty quick. And I was actually scheduled to take the class over summer online the same summer I started. So it kind of worked out really well. But most listings that you see, they want you to have some sort of CAD experience. Depends on the internship, but I bet I would have had more luck with getting interviews if I did have the experience early. And it's so important. It's such like a cornerstone of what engineers do and how to apply engineering knowledge in the real world to actual parts and assemblies and stuff. Even if you're not scheduled to take the class soon, your school probably provides it to you, so you can learn it on YouTube. There's so many good tutorials out there. Even if you don't have access to SolidWorks, there's free software online like Onshape. It's totally free to use. You can use YouTube to learn it in a weekend, honestly. It's really not that hard once you get into it. I would definitely recommend trying to learn that as soon as possible. Once you do learn it, try to practice modeling things that you see around the house, or just for fun, or just to get better at it, because it's such an important tool to be able to use. And honestly, this last thing is one of the most important things to getting a internship as a mechanical engineering student, especially early on. It's apply to everything. You never know who will reach out for an interview. I applied to every opening I could find. If it had the word internship and engineering in the title, unless it was like obvious that I wouldn't get it, like a programming internship or something, or if I wasn't interested in it, I wouldn't apply. But other than that, just go to every website, use all the applications, LinkedIn, ZipRecruiter, Handshake. There's so many. When a job board is linked to a website that had more openings, like on the actual company website, I would apply there too. Or if it was another job board, I would apply on that job board. Just keep going. I promise you, if you follow these steps, you will get an internship you're someone who's interested with a decent resume, who actually has a story to tell and has experiences to back up their interest, shows that they're a hardworking person who is willing to learn. You never know what opportunities will come your way if you stay open to it. You don't need to be perfect, just be curious, consistent, and keep applying because you're not behind. You're just getting started. Boom! Thank you guys for watching. If you found any of this helpful, it would really mean a lot if you liked and subscribed and shared this video with a friend. I make music, link in the description for that. Have a good day. Good luck with your studies. Good luck with your life.